Listen closely. What if I told you destiny is not a distant decree written in the stars, but a script being typed quietly, every hour, by the choices you make? Most people imagine destiny as something that happens to them, a storm of events where they are powerless passengers. They wait for luck, for opportunity, for a break. Yet beneath that waiting, a simple law is working, invisible and relentless. Your mind is constantly sending seeds into the soil of tomorrow. Plant carelessly and you harvest weeds. Plant deliberately and you grow trees that bend toward the light. So the first secret I'll give you is this: mastery begins inside. It begins in the small moments when no one watches. A steward tends to his garden daily, pruning a bit, watering a bit, and in time the garden becomes a forest. You can be that gardener of your own future. Imagine a man who wakes up before dawn. He ties his shoes, breathes the cool air, and walks for 30 minutes. He does not post it. He does not tell his friends. No one applauds. Yet each day that walk rewires his habit loop, his body learns discipline, his mind finds quiet, and opportunities begin to appear because the man has started showing up for himself. Discipline is invisible at first, results are obvious later. This is the law of moral causation. Your inner choices ripple outward in ways you cannot always see. So how do you master that inner world? The book tells us, and experience proves it: begin with observation. Sit with your thoughts like a curious scientist sits by a stream. Watch what surfaces. Which thoughts lift you? Which ones drag you? Most of us live on a loop of automatic reactions. A notification pops up, and before we choose, we react. We have become slaves to habit and impulse. If you want different outcomes, you must first see the patterns that govern your reactions. Let's call this first step awareness. Awareness isn't judgment. It's not guilt. It's simply seeing. I want you to try one thing tonight. For 5 minutes, write down the first thoughts you notice when you wake and the last ones before you sleep. You'll be surprised by the soundtrack in your head. Once you can observe, the next move is analysis. When the gardener sees an invasive plant, he asks, where did it come from? What conditions allowed it? In your mind, ask the same. Which feelings lead you to spend money you shouldn't? When does anger rise, and why? When you trace an action back to its cause, you learn your triggers. Name them, and they lose some of their secret power. Now, after you examine, make a small adjustment. Replace one thought with a better one. If the inner voice says, I'm not enough, practice saying, I am improving. Not because false praise helps, but because words steer the mind. Words are the levers by which attention moves. Replace self-defeating chatter with constructive instructions, the way a coach whispers the next move to an athlete. Small course corrections compound. This is not magical thinking, it is habit engineering. The third pillar of mastery is discipline of action. Thought alone is idle. You must convert inner intention into outward habit. A man who wants a clearer mind does not simply think about calm, he schedules stillness. He sits with his breath even when nothing dramatic happens. Little acts done repeatedly create identity. Identity scores are built of tiny, consistent votes. Today I vote for myself by making one choice that aligns with the person I intend to be. Willpower is not a mythical quality reserved for the select few. It is a muscle that strengthens with use. The more you practice saying no to short-term impulses and yes to long-term priorities, the stronger your resolve becomes. But here's an important correction: willpower is not simply saying no to pleasures. True willpower is about filling the vacuum you create when you remove a destructive habit. If you stop scrolling at midnight, what replaces the time? Read a page. Stretch. Journal for 5 minutes. Nature abhors a vacuum, your mind will fill it. Fill it wisely. Now let me talk about focus. In a world of constant noise, attention is the rarest currency. You can have ideas, energy, talent, and yet without the ability to concentrate, your life remains scattered. The practice of deep attention is like honing a blade. At first, it cuts poorly, later, it slices through complexity. Start small, work for 20 minutes on one task with no devices. Then build that block to 30, 40, 90 minutes. You will notice a strange effect: you begin to do more by doing less. Concentration is not mere stillness, it is directed effort. It multiplies whatever you apply it to. So apply it to what matters. The wise choose a few big things to focus on rather than many small distractions. Now, let me tell you a story of someone who practiced these principles without fanfare. There was a woman named Maya who taught in a school and lived quietly. Her life was not glamorous. She had debts and dreams, the ordinary friction of life. One morning an elderly student failed a class and broke down in her office. Maya did not have to stay late, but she sat quietly with him for an hour, listening. She did not coach, she simply noticed, asked questions, and offered small guidance. Months later, a parent who had been watching Maya's patients across the year offered her a part-time position at a learning center with a higher salary. Opportunity had come from consistency. The moral? Small acts of character create sizable outcomes. Next, language, your inner speech and spoken words, is the lever that calibrates your whole system. When you repeatedly say, "I'm unlucky," the brain looks for evidence of unluckiness. When you say, "I learn from this," the brain hunts for lessons. Change the grammar of your life. Replace "I fail" with "I'm learning what doesn't work." Replace "I can't" with "How can I?" Curiosity invites solutions. Self-pity invites stagnation. The person who masters language becomes the person who shapes reality. You must also choose your company carefully. Humans are social creatures, energy is contagious. Spend time with people who stretch you, not with those who anesthetize your ambitions. Mentors accelerate progress because they are living maps. Find someone who has walked the road you want to walk. Ask good questions. Do the small tasks they ask. Pay attention to their mistakes as much as their victories. A good mentor prevents years of trial and error and hands you a compass instead. Then, practice the art of small, measurable commitments. Vagueness kills momentum. Instead of "I'll write more," say, "I will write 500 words at 7 a.m. every weekday." Instead of "I'll be healthier," say, "I will replace one sugary snack with fruit each day." Specifics are the scaffolding for change. And track your wins. Keep a list of small victories: paid bill, 5-minute meditation, an honest conversation. When the mood dips, read the list. Evidence calms fear. When setbacks come, treat them as experiments, not as verdicts. Failure gives you data, what didn't work, and therefore, what to change next. The iterative method, try, learn, adjust, is the scientist's path to mastery. A common trap is the illusion of all or nothing. People think, if I can't be perfect, why bother? But habit is not a switch, it's a dimmer. Start at 1% better and keep that pace. The compound effect will astonish you. Now let's be practical about temptation and speech. Your tongue is a small organ with outsized power. What you say in public and in private shapes relationships and self-image. Practice restraint, especially when angry. Delay that reply. Breathe. A wise man once said the tongue is only fit for the task when the heart is quiet. When you learn to speak with measured intention, conflict becomes fewer, influence grows, and your will gain steadiness. Another overlooked source of power is duty. Duty is not sour servitude, it is the engine of dignity. When you fulfill small responsibilities with care, the meeting you promised to attend, the report you said you'd finish, you build trust with life. Trust from life looks like opportunities, like people calling you for bigger tasks because you were reliable with smaller ones. Take care of your little contracts and the big contracts will find you. Then there is the moral core, character. Choose courage over comfort. Integrity costs something now and pays everything later. Acting rightly when no one watches forms the habit of right action when many watch. Over time, that habit becomes your reputation and your destiny. Finally, I want to give you a daily practice, a simple loop you can run every morning. 1. Observe. Spend 3 minutes noting your mood and top 3 thoughts. 2. Name one small non-negotiable that matters that day. Finish a chapter. Call one mentor. Write 500 words. 3. Rehearse. Imagine the scene of completion, the room, the sounds, your posture. 4. Act. Do the small task immediately. This loop trains attention, strengthens will, and aligns action with intention. In 6 weeks, you will feel different. In 6 months, people around you will notice. Your destiny will not have changed by magic, it will have changed by accumulation. The highway of your future is built by consistent bricks laid day after day. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are an artist of cause and effect. Within the scaffolding of what can't be changed, birth, time, losses, you hold sovereign power over how you respond. That response sculpts your path. So ask yourself right now, what tiny choice will you make today that signals to the world you are serious about your future? Will you keep scrolling, or will you write one paragraph? Will you procrastinate, or will you make one call? The smallest decisive act reconfigures the field. Commit to the tiny practice. Guard your language. Guard your company. Train your will by little, repeated acts. Focus like a lens and move each day with the dignity of duty. Destiny dances with the choices you make. Not all stars will align. Not all storms will avoid you. But within the storm, you can plant a flag. You can be steady. You can think before you act. You can speak wisely. You can keep going. That steady, quiet mastery will draw the world in ways spectacle never will. This is not easy. It is not meant to be finished in one sunrise. It's the long, rewarding work that makes a life worth living. Start now. Begin with the single small action you defined for today. Do it. Then repeat. Over time, the invisible law will reveal itself. Right deeds create right outcomes. Right thought builds right character. And right character shapes right destiny. You are not helpless before fate. You are its author. Pick up the pen. Write deliberately. The world responds to what you plant and how you tend it. Your mastery of destiny begins with your mastery of the moment.